Hi everybody, it's Grandad here again. And what am I up to today? Well, today I'm going to show you something that's very close to my heart. In fact, I'm quite passionate about it, and I'm hoping that you might be interested in it too. So what I'm doing is a little introductory video just to see what response I get from people who may be interested in this sort of thing. And if there is some interest, then I'll carry on and do some more in-depth videos about various things associated with this subject. Now, the subject actually covers several different subjects, to be honest. I mean, a broad term would be science, but mainly things like chemistry, and but in the main, for this particular introduction, I'm focusing on geology. Now, I've always been keen on geology from a very small boy. When I used to go out, I wouldn't be much older than my grandson is now, about 7 or 8, and I used to go out into the countryside with my parents on picnics in an area of South Shropshire known as the Stiper Stones and the White Grit. Now, the reason it was called the White Grit and Snail Beach was because the whole place was covered in huge white piles of quartz, which were used from when the area was a mining area for lead, and there's lots of lead mines in that area of South Shropshire, and it's very interesting. And we used to go there, and I would as a young boy wander about these heaps looking at the different things that were there, collecting bits and pieces. And one of the things that attracted me straight away, because it's shiny, was this stuff. Now, if you look on there, you can see that there's a large lump of quite reflective, shiny material on a white material. Now, the white material is quartz or calcite, maybe calcite in this case, which is the white material. But in amongst it is this silvery coloured material, which looks like silver, but it isn't actually silver. It's a mineral called Galena. And it's what they get lead out of. They mine this material and they crush it down and then filter it out with various bits of machinery and get out the galena, and they process it by cooking it up in charcoal and various things. And from that they can get lead ore, which they ultimately make into lead. It also contains other minerals. There is silver in this rock, but not a great quantity. And there's also other minerals such as arsenics and different minerals, which I'll get into more detail later. But what I wanted to show you was what really started me off in the geology line and looking at rocks. Now, I had no idea at that age what they were. I just thought they were pretty and I would collect them. And that started a seed in my mind that there was things in the ground that were of interest. And so ever since then, I've gone around searching and looking at different things and trying to find different sources of inspiration for looking at rocks and minerals. Another thing that spurred my interest, which might be of interest to mention, was when I was a little bit older, there used to be a program on the television in the early days called Champion the Wonder Horse. I don't know whether anyone remembers the old Champion the Wonder Horse. And it was a story about a young boy who had a horse, and the horse looked after him in all sorts of scrapes that he used to get into. But in one of those programs, there was storyline had something to do with a geologist that was in the area of where he lived, and an accident happened and he had to be rescued. But while he was actually showing the young boy bits of geology that he'd found, he came across a thing which he called a thunder egg. Now, inside this thunder egg, when you broke it open, it was full of wonderful crystals and different coloured minerals and things. And that again spurred my mind into thinking there's some sort of treasure buried within the ground that you could find. And ever since then, I searched and searched to see if I could find my very own thunder egg. Well, I have found thunder eggs. They weren't quite what I thought they were at the time, but they're more likely the thing that they was actually talking about were geodes, which are gas bubbles which are filled with crystal. And in a minute I'll show you one that I've got here that's quite a large one. And so that's really what started me off looking at minerals and interested in rocks. But you might say, well, rocks, minerals and fossils, what's the point of them? Well, the point is that everything on this earth has come out of the ground. There's no doubt about that. The earth itself is 4.6 billion years old or something such as that. And over that period of time, the earth, from a molten ball of fire in the cosmos, slowly cooled down, and they became to a solid mass, mainly of iron. I think there's an iron core supposed to be in the center of the earth, which is probably molten, and layers upon layers of molten rock that form the earth. And I always like to think about the earth as a rice pudding. It's a strange way of thinking about it, but it's the only way I can think of describing what happened on the earth. Was like a molten mass of rice pudding, and a skin formed on the top. You get rice pudding and you leave it, and a skin will form. Now, if you boil up that rice pudding again, what happens is, because of the pressure underneath of the heat, it'll actually split that skin, and the skin will move around all over the top of the rice pudding, and presumably get thicker and go black and do all sorts of strange things. Well, the earth's a bit like that. It cooked itself up so hot inside that it formed a skin on the outside, which they call the crust of the earth. And the crust of the earth then, over periods of millions of years, began to, it all congealed into a large skin in one place, into a large landmass, which they